Hi guys, so I finally made it into my art room today. I've been so busy over the spring and summer that I haven't been in painting very much. I had a couple of art shows this summer and preparing for that and working 40 plus hours a week, it just has made it challenging to actually get into my art room and paint anything serious, like an actual painting. I've done more just doodling, and that's what I want to talk about in this video is how do you keep yourself kind of in the groove, I guess, of painting when you've got so many pressing things to do. I'm in the, I guess, fall cleanup kind of phase where all the stuff from the spring and summer, all the art show inventory and that kind of thing needs to be inventoried and put away and stored and out of my kitchen and living room and all the places that it's been over the summer. But that all takes time, and I feel like I just have such a limited amount of time that it's frustrating. So I don't get to really fully focus on painting and doing, a piece. So what I want to do in this video is show you kind of how I keep my brush in the paint and keep it active. I don't know if I don't know how to quite word that, but just so I don't completely abandon this painting practice altogether, I want to keep doing something. So what I tend to do is take 5 or 10 minutes. Usually it's just very spontaneous and spur of the moment. I don't go, oh, now I'm going to go into my art room and do this. It's like, oh, now I feel like right before I go to bed, usually I want to do some brush work. I feel like I want to feel the brush and the paint. I want to see the paint moving and on the paper, whatever it is. I don't even care if it looks like anything. I just want to do something. So that's what I do. And I think that's a great practice for when you don't know what to do. You don't have a specific thing that you want to paint. Just go in and see what your brush will do. Go in and choose a brush, choose some favorite colors, and just put some paint down. And then see what your next brush can do. Get a fat brush, get a skinny brush, get a mop brush, get a whatever it is. Practice seeing what your brushes can do. And then when you do go to paint that specific piece, that whatever your heart desires to paint, it'll give you some experience. So when you put it into practice in your painting, now you've reached a different level of experience, if that makes sense too. So let's take a look at what our brushes can do and have fun. Just have fun. All right. So before we get started on having fun with brushwork, I want to talk about paint and paper a little bit. I may have made a video, I can't remember now, about the importance of the paint and the paper that you're using. So maybe if you've been painting long enough, you've experienced this where you've painted a picture and it dries and you thought it was going to be great and it turned out really dull. So a couple of things that could affect that, and I know most definitely do affect it, are the paint quality and the paper that you're using. So there's a huge difference. This actually here is a pad of a block, of Saunders Waterford, and this one is natural white, which it's not bright white, so I don't use it very often because I really like bright white. And Arch, or Arches if you want to call it that, has really great paper. I always end up going back to experiment with other papers and then I go back to the Arch. But for the most part on the paints, I've used a little of these core colors. experimenting with them, and I do love them. They have a beautiful way of just bursting when you drop them into other paint colors or just clear water on the paper. They just burst. They're beautiful. But I haven't painted exclusively with them. I used to only use Holbein. I still use Holbein. I use a lot of Daniel Smith colors, and I also use a few Winsor and Newton colors. But I have here some core, just a variety of core, and a couple of Daniel Smith that I want to use for this. Anyway, back to the paint and paper. Professional grade paint excuse me, I'll go the opposite. Student grade paint has a lot of fillers. So I think you can find some decent ones, but they tend to have a lot of fillers, and so they don't dry as vibrant. Also, student grade paint, for the most part, is made out of wood pulp. And I always use or want to use 100% cotton paper. There's a difference in the way it behaves. There's a difference in how it holds up with lifting and scrubbing, and just overall cotton, 100% cotton is superior in my opinion. You might disagree, but you can be free to disagree. I like 100% cotton paper. Also, there is a difference between brands. I have used 100% cotton paper that was not Saunders, that was not Arche, just to test it out. And I didn't like it as well, even though it was 100% and it was acid free and all that. I just didn't like the way it in the final product. So if I'm going to paint a picture, I want to make sure that the paint and the paper are suitable for what I want to do. So that's my rant. Anyway, so back to our paints. We've got a few laid out here. I've got Hansa Yellow Light here. I've got Daniel Smith Green Gold here. I've got Burnt Sienna core. I've got Viridian core. I've got Phthalo Blue core. I've got Quinacradone Magenta and Quinacradone Gold Deep. Those are the colors that I laid out of the core colors. And then I've got a couple of other Daniel Smiths here. One is Cobalt Teal Blue, and the other is Fushite Genuine. The Fushite has a very beautiful luminescent quality to it, so I love it, love it, love it. But just for play, we're going to, stick with these colors and just see what we can do with our brushes. All right, so what do I want to do? Do I want to go sideways with this so you can see? I think so. I have this white plastic poster thing underneath it just to keep it looking clean underneath. Okay, so I also have clear water. Isn't that nice? It's clean right now, so it's clear. But I have 2 containers of clean water. The reason I have 2 containers, and I don't always succeed in this, is one, sometimes I just like to rinse my brush out in one and then pick up clean water in the other. Another thing I've seen people do is use one container for their reds and browns and warm colors and another container for their cool colors. I don't always succeed in doing that either. So, but I always have 2. So what I'm going to do here is start with a number 4 long round. This is a Princeton Velvettouch. And the difference between just a regular round and a long round, you can see here, if I get my hand out of the way, that the regular round is shorter and the long round is longer, comes to a finer tip. So it's got a long, like it extends past the regular number 4 into a more tapered fine tip. So I like that. So let's start with that one and just see what we can do with it. So right off the bat, I want to say there's strokes that you maybe already know, but I'm going to go over them. So there are long stroke, short stroke, I think broken stroke is one, or dry stroke, broad stroke, connecting stroke. There's all kinds of different strokes for different folks. So whatever you call these brush strokes, doesn't really matter. The point is we want to have expressive brush strokes. And the way to learn about what your brush can do is to put away expectations about painting a picture and just get your brushes out and work on what you can do with them. And, you know, paper, you may say, is expensive and you don't want to waste it, but it's not being wasted because you're learning. It's all about learning how to grow in your watercolor practice. So we're going to do a couple of different strokes and use a couple of different brushes. And this long brush is one that I chose because it has such a nice fine tip to it. But start with just how to fill in an area. So this is a small brush. I'm just going to fill in a small area. If I wanted to fill a bigger area, I would use a bigger brush. But we're going to just fill in a little bit of an area here. And I'm just keeping the brush on the paper. Had a lot of paint and water in there, so it was, I could fill in that area, but I was running out. You can see how it was getting lighter. There's another stroke here. This was a broad stroke. Connecting stroke is where you're lifting the brush and adding paint side by side, and it just is blending together. So those are your broad stroke and your connecting stroke. So there's also ways to add the paint with strokes like the short stroke, or add a little bit of extra water to that so I can extend it. So we're starting off with the tip of our brush. I'm holding it fairly close to the ferrule just because it's giving me more control. So tip of the brush, and we're going to add some pressure and just draw that out a little bit longer. So with that stroke, you can do some fun stuff. Let's add a little bit of phthalo blue to that pretty turquoise color. And we can add a couple of waves. I'm not lifting my brush off the paper. I'm just letting it squiggle. Letting the brush kind of drag along with my arm, pulling it, not necessarily using my fingers or my wrist. I'm just dragging my arm. So that's just a really fun way to loosen up. So just, and I stand, by the way. It's a lot easier for me when I'm standing to do these kinds of strokes because I have freedom to swing my arms instead of feeling like I'm all bunched up sitting down. And that can work against me too because at night I'm so tired. I stand all day long working at Costco, so I stand all day long on cement. And when I get home, I don't necessarily want to stand anymore. So it makes it hard. Makes it hard to paint when I come home. So vary the colors here. I've got, what is that? That looks kind of a purple. I'm going to add a little bit of magenta to that and just vary the colors up and just kind of play around with making those cute little waves. And then you can make some birdies up here, very light. I'm not gripping my brush hard. I'm not tensing up. I'm just trying to be loose and have fun. So also, if I go over here, I'm going to drag my my hand through the paint. So I'm going to not do that. I think I already did it right there, but that's okay. Okay, so we've got waves on water. We've got ways to add different types of marks, and that's like thick, you know, you can put pressure down and then release. So let's do that again. That wasn't very pretty. So I'm going to start with the tip, and I'm going to and release. So you've got a little bit of movement in there. I love movement in my painting, so I'm always trying to figure out how to get more of that. And also we can do it looks like a shark in the water. All kinds of different things that you can do with that long stroke and short stroke. You can go vertical or slanted and extend the space in between the pressure and the release. So you end up with a longer motion and a longer pressure area. So you see how this one's short and this one's a little bit longer. So play around with that, and then let's come up on the tip of the brush and see what we can do as far as making it even more loose and more squiggly. We can just move our fingers and get some movement in there. So that's really fun. I'm right-handed, so all my stuff tends to go up that way, but so I have to consciously come this way if I want the motion to go the other direction. And I can also put a little more side pressure. Instead of being up on the tip so much, let's try getting a broader stroke. Pretty color. What's going to happen with that is you're going to run out of paint sooner because you're putting pressure on the brush and it's pushing into the paper, and all that paint and water is being released quicker. So here I was able to go further before I started running out of paint. And here I start running out of paint sooner and going into a dry brush stroke, which is very beautiful. So that is some of those movements for water and waves and horizontal strokes, but we can also get some color here and use that for greenery or grass or leaves. So I'm going to just go right over the top of that. So let's do very lightly. I can go up and I can do some squiggles, like very loose. Say that's like a little brushy area. And if I want to get a little bit more control in there, I can use my brush like that, where I'm gripping it down on the ferrule more and using my hand to draw it up. And I use some jaggedy motions to get some of those loose limbs come down from here. Sometimes I can't go that way. Could turn the paper upside down. I have a little bit of trouble doing that though. I can't see what I'm doing. Adding a different color into that makes those a little bit more interesting. So don't stick with one color. You see how that makes it pop a little bit more? You get some different color in there. It just makes it, that was a little fat branch. See, I could do this kind of stuff all day long. It's just fun. It is fun, 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 fun. And I don't care if it looks like anything or not. It's just fun. So maybe I want to add some foliage to that. Might be a little bit too wet. I can just do little flicks. Little flicks. Tip of the brush, little flicks. So there you go on that. Now I have another brush that I really like. This one's going to be a little bit too big probably for what I'm doing, but they're both the same. They're daggers. This is a 3/8 inch and this is a 1/4 inch, but I really love these brushes for the amount of paint and water that they hold, and the looseness that I get from them. There's not a lot of control to be had, which is fine because that's part of the beauty of using these brushes. So I'm going to start with some of the leaves that you can get from this. So you see that? I'm going to start at the tip. I'm going to put some pressure on and just kind of drag that. And that wasn't the best example, but there's a better one. Again, I'm holding it down on the end, using those beautiful colors. Can twist it. Don't know what that is, but it doesn't matter. It's all about finding out what your brush can do. I like that little action there. That was fun. Again, we can do squiggly little lines with this, which are really fun. If you want to do your ocean or your rough little water, you can do that with that brush. It's a little less controlled. Little bit of a long stroke there. A little bit of a short stroke there. So that is a super fun brush to use. And I'm practicing. I'm trying to get this where I can do a little loop. It's really hard. But I'm still working on that. All right. How about some grass? It's my green gold. So back on the end of my brush, I can play with that. Just let it move, let it do the painting for you. It's almost like this real musical, fun motion. And remember, you don't, I'm gonna get technical here. So if you are wanting to do grass and you think that you want to do this, just same, it looks boring. You want to make it a little bit more interesting. You're going to go different directions. So this is a great brush for getting a really loose looking grass. Again, adding some different colors in there is kind of fun. And if it's still wet, they just kind of fuse together and it really looks beautiful. Okay, so enough of that one, but if you don't have this brush, this is so good. This is the Princeton Dagger 1/4 inch Neptune. And let's go to a little flat brush that I absolutely love. And we're gonna do some marks with that. Oh, yes. So we're gonna use, let's use this blue. And we're just gonna do a couple of different things coming up on the edge here. Just gonna see what that'll do. Moving my whole arm. I'm gonna just come down. And I started with the flat part of the brush there and then came up on its tip. You can do strokes like this. That could be brick. You can also do those little waves with this brush. Just holding it almost vertical. Try it with a little bit more pressure as you come down. Can use it this way. So there is your flat brush. This one I particularly love because I can also splatter with it. It's one of my favorite things to do with this brush. Get enough water on there, it just releases really nice. So don't be afraid to play in that way too. That's something else your brush can do. So let's go back. I'm going to pick up the number 4, but this time I'm going to go with the regular, just round. And I'm going to get some green with that burnt sienna, but I'm also going to add some of that blue to it to get a, actually, to get a deep, deep green. So I want to do like a little, kind of see what the tip of this brush and combining strokes can do. So let's put like a little line to start, and then we're gonna just do the tip of this brush and come like that. Maybe I should have gone this way and done like a Christmas tree. Little scribbly motions. A little bit more brown in that. Using more of the body of the brush. Get yourself a little pine cone. Play, play, play. Just so many things you can do if you just spend a few minutes practicing with your strokes. And I have to put this down, put it up here, but I don't know if you guys can really see how gorgeous this color is. So beautiful. Such a beautiful shimmer. What I didn't show you though was this brush can also just be used for that dry brush texture. By using the whole side of that brush, you can get beautiful texture. And while it's still wet, I can just touch in and it will fuse. All right, I could keep going and going and going, but I'm gonna stop because you need to go get your brushes out and start painting. So hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please like it and subscribe. It helps my channel and I really appreciate that. Thanks you guys. Happy painting, and hope I see you sooner than later for the next video. Take care. Happy painting. Bye-bye.